This short video is designed to walk you through the test screens, pull downs, pop-ups, etc. of the ST300 operating software. What you're looking at when you first boot up is something that most likely is going to look pretty much like this. Area over here is what we refer to as the test list pane. This is the data log pane. This is the main test screen. The blue line that you see here is the end of probe marker. And what that shows is the electrical end of the probe, or right at the probe tip, also referred to as the launch point, or it's the beginning of test. The red crosshatch area is the pass-fail region. This is where it all happens. The information as far as pass or fail is all determined within this region. This can be moved back and forth wherever you need it. It can also be narrowed or widened, and then you can save it. These white lines are movable cursors, and a little later on we'll show you one of the uses for these cursors. They're simply a tool, nothing more. They're basically floating, and they're used in part of the measurement. So probably the first thing to begin with is let's click on Actions, let's click on Calibrate, and this is going to do a couple of things. It's going to tell us whether or not the system is working and properly, and also electrically set up the cables and probes. So let's hit EOC, which stands for end of cable. It asks me to unhook or disconnect all the cables, and I am doing so. I have done it now. Now I'm performing the end of cable, and it's done. So I go back and click on Actions, and I ask it to verify, and sure enough, there's a trace coming out there. It's coming out right here, right somewhere between 40 and 60, so that's 50 ohm. That's about what I'm looking for. So at this point, I'm going to put my probe back on, and I'm doing it as I speak. Okay, it's on. I'm going to verify one more time, and there, what I see here is the probe. So now we know a couple of things. We know we've done electrically, we found the end of the cable, and we've also verified that the system is in fact working properly because I just measured the probe and the cable. So I'll just cancel that out for now. Next thing that I probably want to do at this point is find the end of the probe, because I found the end of the cable, and this blue marker shows me, but I need to find the single. Okay, that's done. So at this point, that whatever that blue line is, that electrically is where the end of the probe is. Before we go any further, probably the next best thing to do is just create a test. So if I insert trace definition, I come up with a test editor, and you'll notice that many of the things in the test editor are already filled in. It defaults to 50 ohms. It defaults the target impedance to 50 ohms. Doesn't default on a layer, but I'm going to put layer 1 in, and it gives me a trace window of 5 ohms. And the trace window basically is going to be just a little longer in length than your coupon that you typically measure. So my coupon's about 4.5 inches. So this thing has defaulted to 5. I'm going to save that. And there we go. Now we see we've created a 50 ohm test, and we say it's a 50 ohm on layer 1. So if I highlight that by clicking on it, and if I go up here and, well, let's just left click down here, we've created a test, and it's failed because I'm not probing anything, and it was a single test, and this basically will be the starting point of the test. Now there's one other thing that I might point out here. If I go into this mode here, this brings us into live mode. Now the system is operating pretty much like a Tektronix or an Agilent, where it just continues to test. You can hear that ping in the background, and it changes each time because it's just a random failure. Let's get out of that mode, back to single test. Now I have a 50 ohm coupon here. Let me just probe it. So I'm going to probe it, which I have done. Let me left click. Now it looks like I probably would have a decent test here, except I've got this set in the wrong region. You can see if I move it down here someplace, it's going to pass. Now here's where these cursors will come into action. I could leave it right here and proceed, but if I take this, move it over to that blue line, or basically the end of probe, and it just needs to be fairly close, and if I move out this one out here to the end of the test, and then with this cursor in the red crosshatch area, if I right click, it says snap to percentage of cursors. Okay, so what that's going to do is that's going to put this point at some percentage of the waveform and this one at another. IPC and other various sources recommend that the starting point is 50% of the trace and the ending point is 70% of the trace. I click on OK, and that's what it done. That's what it has done. See, it wasn't that far off. So if we look at this, is about the 50% point right here on this marker, and that's the 70% point. So we've now set up a test, and it's passed. Now let me data log that test. If I just right click, now we've data logged. Well, let me test again. Well, we've tested again. Let me data log. And again, and data log, and again, data log, and again, data log. So now that we've done that, you can see we've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tests, and we've data logged them all. An interesting thing with the data log and the way the ST300 works, anything in data log, and this typically you would save this program at the end of the test run. You can open it up at any time in the future because you've archived it, or you could send this file on. It's a .tds file. You send it to your customer. They can open it up, and if they want to see what you saw when you tested, if I click on any one of these tests, there's the test result, including the waveform. So this is a very powerful tool. Let's click on to a couple of other things in the actions window. We've done we've been in the calibrate mode. We've gone into live mode. Log coupon data is if you click on log coupon data, it will log the coupon that you've just tested. You can do it in automatic mode, which we'd use most of the time, but occasionally you want to do it manually, and this is how you do it. Create report is exactly as it says. You're going to create a report, and you're going to name it here. You're going to save it in a buffer, and it's going to be saved as a PDF file. For now, let's just cancel out. Let's go back. End of probe we've already done. Let's move on to, let's set serial number. Click on set serial number. We've already tested 5, so the next serial number would be 6. But suppose we wanted to, for whatever reason, start at some other number. We can set that number, and at that point click on OK, and that's what the next serial number will be. Click on Actions again and click on Security, and if I click on User Manager, this allows me to set a password. So it would be a name and a password, a name of a user and a password, and if you wanted to password your system. Click on Actions. Let's click on Preferences. Click on Preferences, and at the top of the list is Company Info. If I click on that, this is the name of your customer, and you can type in all of his information, save it, and this information will basically appear on reports that you generate. on behalf of this customer. Let's go back to preferences once again, and next is colors. I can change the screen colors. You see the background is set for black, the grid is gray, the criteria, which is this is red, parameters are in blue. If I wanted to change those to some other color, just for the sake of, I can change them. I just changed them to yellow and click on OK. And so you can modify this to suit your taste. Let's go back and go back to preferences, colors, auto advance. Auto advance says that the test will automatically, and you saw it just a minute ago, as I data logged, it automatically advanced to the next test. And you can do it after pass, or you can do it after test, or you can leave it so that you have to manually advance. Most of the time, what we recommend is setting it up for after pass. This means that if you had bad contact with the coupon, it gives you several chances to test it, because it may fail once or twice before it passes. It contacts, the pads may be dirty on the coupon, and the recommended setting is after pass. Set directories allows you to set the data directory, report file directory, and export file directory, just pretty much as it says. Let's go back again to preferences and set the default test definitions. And what it brings us back to the test editor, but what it does here is it says, okay, my coupons are already 4.5 inches, so if I set this trace window to 5, that's something I don't have to set. It defaults to 50 ohms because so many times you're going to be doing a 50 ohm coupon. Obviously you can write over these things, but that's basically all designed to just save you some time when you're creating programs. So let's just save that and go back one more time to preferences and set output file. Again, you can determine where it is, what the file name is, where you want to put the output file. Let's cancel that. One more time. Okay, start x-axis from. That means that where are you going to, on a display, are you going to be starting your display looking at the end of the cable or at the end of the probe? Anytime you're using a probe, you're going to have this thing set to end of probe. If you set it to end of cable, your test would begin out here someplace. If you want to do a test on one of those standards that came with the instrument, you'd set it on end of cable. And then sounds, you can turn the sounds off or on, and cursors you can show or not show. Now that pretty much runs through all of those screens. And that's what this video was designed to do. There's a series of videos, and we'll go through creating programs. We created a quick one here, but a multiple trace coupon. Many other features that we'll discuss in subsequent videos. Thanks for watching.